All right, folks. Yishai Fleischer going live here with you late night from the land of Israel when I'm supposed to be sleeping so I could clean for Passover, for Pesach, right? That's what it's really all about. It's about getting ready for Passover right now. But Prime Minister Netanyahu is in the United States and he was just at the Oval Office. And I thought that it would be important for us to discuss the issues that were brought up there between him, Trump, and the other players that were in the room, including Rubio and Hegseth and others, and some of the important questions that were asked as well. There are big issues on the table right now, but I still think that it may be that Prime Minister Netanyahu actually went to see Donald Trump just to get away from Passover cleaning, okay? Because the rest of us are working hard to clean the household, and he's out there gallivanting. He was out in Hungary, and now he's in the United States. But I'm just joking around. Before we get to the actual footage of the discussion between Trump and Netanyahu, I want you to please like, subscribe, comment, become a member, and join us right now as we're live. And you could, of course, also comment right now, and I'll be able to see your comments as we're going live. As we continue, I remind you again, I'm serious about the fact that here in Israel, we're all focused, and in the Jewish world, we're focused on getting ready for Passover. Prime Minister Netanyahu actually released a video this week in Hebrew with a little bit of humor, as he's wont to do. Let's take a look at this fun video that he released with messaging about going to America and cleaning up with Iran. Let's watch this video.
טוב, סיימנו את הניקיונות לפני הפסח,
He says, okay, we already cleaned up everything before Passover.
ויהיו גם ניקיונות אחרי הפסח, בעזרת השם.
There's also going to be cleanup after Pesach. Wink, wink. After Pesach, we're going to do more cleaning up. What does he mean by that? Okay, he probably means that we're going to be cleaning up in Iran or in Gaza, but that is the hint there. And he says, with the help of God, he throws that in. Let's just see that again one more time. All right. He says
אחרי הפסח,
they'll
בעזרת
be
השם.
cleaning after Pesach.
חג
with the help
שמח.
of God, and happy holiday, happy Passover holiday. So that's what I was kind of hinting to, that everybody here in Israel is getting ready for Passover, for Pesach. And one of the things that we do is we get rid of the leavened products in our house. No bread, no vodka, no beer, no cereal. And we're cleaning up. And he's hinting that there's more than just cleaning up the physical chametz, which is leavened products. There's also cleanup with all the bad guys that we have to deal with. But it was all hinted at with a little bit of humor, and he's done that before. So that's Prime Minister Netanyahu here in Israel cleaning up. Let's get to the tape, as the sportscaster used to say. Let's get to the videotape of what happened at just really an hour ago, finished up before my going live, the Trump Netanyahu meeting at the Oval Office, discussing not just Gaza and Iran and jihadism and all that, but also talking about economics and trade and tariffs between Israel and the United States. So let's check it out together as these two great leaders meet in Washington, D.C.
It's an honor to have a very, very special person. I've dealt with him for a long time, Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister of Israel. And we had lunch together, we had meetings together, along with his very capable staff. And I think we've come up to some pretty good solutions and conclusions. And we'll be working a little bit after this, and then I assume you're going back home.
Yes, sir.
This is a quick stop, in and out. But we appreciate you being here, and we are a friend of Israel, as you know. I would say that I'm by far the best president that Israel has ever even thought of seeing. And
Okay, humility is not Trump's forte, but he's not wrong. right? He's not wrong. I mean, President Trump has been Israel's best friend for people like me who think that Israel should be big, strong, pushing back on bad guys. He's absolutely right. President Trump has been that best friend. You know, sometimes my colleagues will say, well, I wish we didn't need a President Trump, right? That's the way we think about it around here. It's like we should be strong without an American president giving us a thumbs up or thumbs down. That leave that to the side. It is true, even though his humility is not his calling card, but he is telling the truth that he is the best friend that Israel has had in the White House.
It's an honor to be so, and to be so thought of. Many friends in Israel. They are not in an easy area. It doesn't go easy, but we are helping them. And likewise, they've been helping us very much. And so we'll see how it all works out. But we had great discussions today, I think, on the obvious subject of Iran and also the less obvious subject with respect to Israel, and that's trade. And I think the Prime Minister is going to tell you a little bit about trade and what they're doing for the United States. So I want to thank you all for being here. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
Benjamin, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Donald. Thank you. Mr. President, I want to first thank you for inviting me again to the White House. You've been a remarkable friend of the State of Israel. You stand by us.
Let's just, before we even hear any more from Prime Minister Netanyahu, let's just say the truth. Prime Minister Netanyahu is, you could like his policies or not like his policies, and I've been critical of many of his policies, but there's nobody that could do international diplomacy with the United States from our side like Prime Minister Netanyahu. He's just good at it. It's his language, it's his skills, it's his mind. He's good at it. He's got a great team. And look, this is the man for his time, for this moment, for this American president, for this bilateral relationship. It's the man. You know, this is what he was born to do, and this is his, you know, his shining moment. So let's grant him that, and let's also be thankful to Hashem, to God Almighty, that we have a person that can navigate that relationship at this time.
You're standing with us. You are a great, great champion of our alliance, and you actually do the things that you say you do, and I think that people respect that enormously. I certainly do, and the people of Israel do, and I think the Jewish people do as well. We just saw your representative in the Department of Justice fighting anti-Semitism, standing up for Israel in international forums. I just want you to know from the heart, it's deeply, deeply appreciated. As you said, we had the opportunity to talk today about many subjects. First, if I can mention tariffs, it's a subject of some interest today. I can tell you that I said to the President a very simple thing. We will eliminate the trade deficit with the United States. We intend to do it very quickly. We think it's the right thing to do. And we're going to also eliminate trade barriers, a variety of trade barriers that have been put up unnecessarily. And I think Israel can serve as a model for many countries who ought to do the same. I recognize the position of the United States. It says, you know, we're allowing other countries to put tariffs on us, but we don't put tariffs on them. And, you know, I'm a free trade champion, and free trade has to be fair trade. And I think that's basically the position that you've put forward, Mr. President. We are going to eliminate the tariffs, and rapidly. I had the opportunity to speak to Secretary Lutnick yesterday. We talked about how we could effect this quickly, and I hope to bring the solution very quickly. We're not talking about intentions. We're not talking about you know, just words. We're talking about results. And those results are going to come. So that's the first.
Thank you very much. It's very nice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mr. President.
Okay, so it's very important, the things that were discussed. But I want to put in perspective that it's not like there's a lot of tariffs on goods coming from the United States. That's not actually what drives the prices up here in Israel. What drives up the price is unnecessary red tape and bureaucracy. For example, our weights and measurements department, our standards department that has to check stuff that's already been checked by the United States and has already been certified. You know, we have more layers of bureaucracy, more layer of government, and everything is just darned expensive, right? We pay almost 100% tax just on cars, not to mention gas and other things. So stuff is just very, very expensive for us. I hope and I pray that this process will actually lead to stuff becoming cheaper for us, the Israeli consumer. That's what I'm really excited about. So I really want to see that. By the way, there's one more way that you could support our programming I forgot to mention, and that is super chats. If you super chat with me right now, I'll be happy to put it up on the screen and discuss your question or your thoughts. So super chat is a great way to go. Anyway, Prime Minister Netanyahu is saying he's going to slash all tariffs. There's not a lot of tariffs on American goods, but will he slash all the bureaucracy that keeps stuff expensive? Like, we pay a lot more, 50% more for food and other things than the other countries. We're one of the most expensive countries in the OECD. So it would be great to see our prices go down so that we can live better and cheaper, and that will make a big difference in our lives. So we can marry off our kids and deal with that stuff. We're just trying to get by around here in Israel. There are a lot of wealthy people, but still, the average person struggles to, as we say in Israel, to finish the month. I hope that this process initiated by President Trump, which has been highly criticized by others, I hope that for Israel, it will mean lower prices, better trade relations with the United States, but definitely a benefit for the Israeli consumer. Let's keep going.
Well,
Let him finish.
finish. I'm going to begin. We spoke about not only the hostages, but about Gaza. The hostages obviously is a human story of just unbearable agony. I speak to the families. I spoke to them yesterday. Spoke to another one when I was in Hungary before I came here. I speak to them every day. They're in agony. The hostages are in agony. And we want to get them all out. Steve Witkoff, President Trump's very able representative, helped us get a deal that got 25 out. We're working now on another deal that we hope will succeed. And we're committed to getting all the hostages out, but also eliminating the evil tyranny of Hamas in Gaza and enabling the people of Gaza to freely make a choice to go wherever they want. I mean, they should have that choice. And the president put forward a vision, a bold vision, which we discussed as well, including the countries that might be amenable and are amenable to accepting Palestinians of their free choice if they choose to go there. And I think that's the second thing that we discussed. But the hostages came right on top. We also discussed the situation in Syria. We've had neighborly relations with Turkey that have deteriorated, and we don't want to see Syria being used by anyone, including Turkey, as a base for attack in Israel. Turkey is a country that has a great relationship with the United States. The president has a relationship with the leader of Turkey. We discussed how we can avoid this conflict in a variety of ways, and I think we can't have a better interlocutor than the President of the United States for this purpose.
Okay, so very important points that are being made by Prime Minister Netanyahu about the problem that we're having with Turkey. Erdogan speaks belligerently against Israel all the time. We have a definite problem with that. And he's saying, okay, President Trump, you got to help us out here. You have a relationship with Erdogan. Erdogan keeps on talking about shrinking Israel, destroying Israel. He's captured part of Syria, and he's becoming, another Iran, another tyrant. Other people, like my friend Michael Duran, Dr. Duran, says no, Turkey is a potential ally for Israel. It's just bluster. There's really not a lot of difference between Netanyahu and Erdogan. Maybe. But Prime Minister Netanyahu clearly does not see it that way. And he put it out there right now in this conference and in this press briefing, saying to the press, yeah, we have a problem with Turkey. And, it's like we bop one on the head, another one comes up. We have a lot of jihadis. And sadly, Erdogan is an Islamist and is going against, I just said Erdogan is an Islamist. And then immediately Natalie, can I please just put this up? Natalie says Erdogan is an Islamist, exactly, which is exactly what I was thinking. But the point is that it's really too bad because the Turkish people like the Iranian people, are pro-Israel. We know we have great relationship with Turkish people, but Erdogan has taken it to a different place, and that's too bad. Let's get back to the videotape.
And of course, we also discussed Iran. Look, we're both united in the goal that Iran does not ever get nuclear weapons. If it can be done diplomatically in a full way.
Iran, it's not an issue of getting nuclear weapons. It's an issue of that regime. It's just when he says nuclear weapons, it's a kind of like cover. It's not a problem of Iran getting nuclear weapons. That's just a worst case scenario. The problem is the Iranian regime. They are a regime of terror in this whole region. And Israel's got to deal with this very dangerous snake, very dangerous Persian Haman who wants to destroy the Jewish people. And I think that's what he really means. He uses the kind of dramatic idea of a nuclear Iran as the headline, but really the problem is not a nuclear Iran, but the Iranian regime in general.
The way it was done in Libya, I think that would be a good thing. But whatever happens, we have to make sure that Iran does not have nuclear weapons. That's the end of my speech.
Mr. President, we're having direct talk.
Just notice this room for a second. You have there J.D. Vance, Rubio, Hegseth. These are the men that are the top secretaries of dealing with defense of the United States, and they're sitting in the room as well. Look at the media there. That's the atmosphere in the room. That just gives you a sense of what, we're just getting a tight shot of the two principals, but there's a sense of the room and what it looks like.
Wait a minute, wait. We're having direct talks with Iran, and they've started. It'll go on Saturday. We have a very big meeting, and we'll see what can happen. And I think everybody agrees that doing a deal would be preferable to doing the obvious. And the obvious is not something that I want to be involved with, or frankly, that Israel wants to be involved with if they can avoid it. So we're going to see if we can avoid it. But it's getting to be very dangerous territory. And hopefully those talks will be successful. And I think it would be in Iran's best interest if they are successful. We hope that's going to happen. And we had just a lot of good.
We all understand that when he says Iran's best interests, that's diplomatic speak, because Iran is not a rational player. I mean, they're rational, but they are driven not by rationality, but by jihadist ideology, Shiite jihadist ideology, Islamist. So let's be kind of real. I'm just kind of, I think that Diplo talk has a place. It's important to know how to talk diplomatically. But we also know that behind this diplomatic language is, in fact, a preparation for a strike against Iran and to push back their nuclear arsenal development, etc. And so he's being very nice right now, very charitable, President Trump, but behind that is a very serious and cogent threat.
Talks on a lot of things. I appreciate very much what you said about the tariffs. We've been ripped off and taken advantage of by many countries over the years, and can't do it anymore. Just can't do it anymore. Can't be the stupid people anymore. And with that, any questions?
Hold it. Mr. President, many of time.
This gentleman is all day long.
Mr. President, many of thank you for the chance. Many of Palestinian Americans who voted for you and not for Biden because you've promised them to end the war in Gaza.
Very honored by that vote too.
The war.
Many Palestinian Americans voted for Trump. Yeah, I don't think that's actually true. I don't think that's true. And I think they probably voted for Biden because they actually wanted. I know that there's this perception that Biden allowed, what do they call it, genocide Biden and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I don't buy it. I think that we all understand that Biden was anti-Israel, wanted to shrink Israel, wanted to use the 7th of October as a way to shrink Israel, to create a Palestinian state, and to keep undermining Israel. And I just don't believe that there's a great, so-called Palestinian Arab vote for Trump. But okay, let's see how he answered it.
Still going on, and there's no hostage deal. Do you have any update on that?
Well, I'd like to see the war stop, and I think the war will stop at some point that won't be in the too distant future. Right now we have a problem with hostages. We're trying to get the hostages out. We got quite a few of them out, but it's a long process. It shouldn't be that long. We have a big problem that we've done. I think I'll ask Pete to maybe talk about it for a second, because a lot of people are asking. The Houthis, we've been very tough and very successful militarily. We've really damaged them badly. These were people shooting down ships and other things, by the way, flying objects like airplanes. And we've put a major hurt on the Houthis, which nobody's been able to do.
There's been a major hurt on the Houthis. That's what I just want to say. Major hurt on Houthis. Okay. Other than that, but in all seriousness, the Houthis are still shooting missiles, intercontinental ballistic missiles at Israel, and they're still slowing down international trade. But the Trump administration actually pulled the trigger on the Houthis. It's important to point out, right? There was a lot of, the Biden administration just let these guys shut down international trade, but there's no doubt that the Americans actually pulled the trigger, which is, how should I say, nice to see, that it's not just bluster, but actual action against people who are terrorizing the world. So there has been a world of hurt on the Houthis.
Really hit them hard, and they know it, and they don't know what to do. And it's every night, night after night. And we've gotten many of their leaders and their experts. They're experts on missiles. I mean, they actually make missiles. Nobody thought that. But they make missiles. They're highly sophisticated, and they're very tough. But they've been very badly damaged. Nobody else was able to do that but us. Pete, you want to discuss that, please?
Yes, sir. It's been a bad 3 weeks for the Houthis, and it's about to get worse. It's been a devastating campaign, whether it's underground facilities, weapons manufacturing, bunkers, troops in the open, air defense assets. We are not going to relent. And it's only to get more unrelenting until the Houthis declare they will stop shooting at our ships. And we've been very clear at the Iranians as well. They should not continue to provide support to the Houthis, and that message has been made very clear. So we have a lot more options and a lot more pressure to apply, and we know, because we see the reports, how devastating this campaign has been in them, and we will not relent.
I just want to make a comment on this thing, which is, there's no doubt about it. The United States has indeed sent a very physical, kinetic message to the Iranian regime. Is that going to stop them? I don't know. But there's no question that the United States has sent an actual and kinetic language, which the Iranians understand and need to hear. And I was, we have to be impressed that we get a lot of, bluster and threats, but you see that the United States actually sent an Iranian proxy that's slowing down international trade again, sent them a very clear message. And, he just had his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, lay it out clearly. And that's an important distinction. There's an important change of not just tone, but of action. Similarly, we'll discuss it a little bit later, when President Trump gets to talking more about Gaza, there's been a very different tone, not just about the Iranians, but about what is the so-called Palestinian narrative. We'll get to that in a second.
We have a great military. There's no military like our military. And despite Biden having given a lot, but nevertheless a pretty small piece, but it was a lot of our military away in Afghanistan, and one of the dumbest situations, I think, and maybe the most embarrassing situation we've ever been involved in, that short period of time in Afghanistan. What a disgrace that was, but left a lot of our military behind. Left. You see them in their annual parades where they're parading trucks that are armor-plated and different things that they can't. But it's many billions of dollars we left behind. But despite that, we have a tremendous military. That was a very small portion because we rebuilt the military during my first term. And we have great things happening with our military. We also essentially approved a budget, which is in the facility, you'll like to hear this, of $1 trillion, $1 trillion. And nobody's seen anything like it. We have to build our military, and we're very cost conscious, but the military is something that we have to build, and we have to be strong because you got a lot of bad forces out there now.
So the reason that President Trump just turned to Bibi and he's like, "You're going to like this," it's because it's clear that Israel also has to rebuild its military. It's clear after October 7th that the idea of a small military that's technologically capable but doesn't actually have tanks, and it doesn't have personnel, and doesn't have enough airplanes, and certainly does not have enough armament, munitions, missiles, shells, that's not going to work. Israel needs to have a big and powerful army if it's going to survive in this region. So that I think there was a wink wink there, which is like, you're going to like this because we're making it big. And that's the power of the United States, that they can have such a strong army. That strong army is able to, if it chooses to, it's able to patrol the world and keep the world in balance. When America talks about shrinking its military and shrinks its budget and undermines its military, then the world becomes destabilized in the current world that we live in today. In any case, in the realpolitik discussion, it's obvious that there was a wink wink. You guys should also, Israel, you also have to build up your military, just like we're rebuilding ours.
So we're going to be approving a budget, and I'm proud to say, actually, the biggest one we've ever done for the military. We're cutting other things that were under Doge, but under a lot of other. When you look at a woman getting $2 billion for environmental, and it had nothing to do with environmental, and they had $100 in the bank, and they give her $2 billion. Many of those cases, all that stuff is going to be cut out. But we are getting a very, very powerful military. We have things under order now, the likes of which we've never had before. We've never had the kind of aircraft, the kind of missiles, anything that we have ordered. And it's in many ways too bad that we have to do it, because hopefully we're not going to have to use it. But the military is very, very powerful. And
I just want to point that little aside that he made. Like, we hope that we don't have to use it, and that's really the point of having a strong military. It's the ability to use it, and from time to time you have to show that you do have the capacity to use it, and it's important to have it. But I thought it was a beautiful little aside, which is okay. But I'm not saying that we have to be warmongers, but I'm saying that we have to have that capacity. It's very different than, an Erdogan or an Iranian mullah speech, which is like, they're calling for violence. He says, well, I hope we don't have to have that violence. We don't have to use that violence, but we have to have that capacity.
It's going to remain that way.
How do you, Mr. President?
Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to ask you about Iran, because this is the first time we hear that the U.S. is having a direct contact with the Iranians. Is it possible to give us some more information at what level the U.S. is represented?
High level, very high level. Yeah.
And
we're dealing with the Iranians. We have a very big meeting on Saturday, and we're dealing with them directly. A lot of people say, oh, maybe you're going through surrogates, or you're not dealing directly, you're dealing through other countries. No, we're dealing with them directly, and maybe a deal is going to be made. That would be great. It'll be really great for Iran, I can tell you that. But hopefully, we're not going to have to get into that. We are meeting very importantly on Saturday at almost the highest level, and we'll see how it works out. Please.
Many Israelis are watching you now on live show.
Good.
What is your specific way of getting the hostages out from the horrific captivity?
We are trying very hard to get the hostages.
Even before we hear the answer, the question is, many people in Israel are watching this. What are you going to do to help get the hostages out of captivity? I personally find these questions to be annoying and, how should I say, childish and myopic. Okay. The hostages are a result of stupid policy, of shrinking our land and giving it to the jihadis. Now we have many hostages. We're all being held hostage by a Hamas-controlled Gaza, by jihadis on our roads, by missiles trained at us, by a constant sense of danger because of stupid policy. And this myopic need to totally be like, there's only one issue. There's only one issue. Get these hostages back. Get these hostages back. let's ensure that we don't have hostages ever again. That's what the policy question should be. And how do you get these hostages back? Well, send in your special forces. For God's sakes, Gaza is just a sandbox off of mainland Israel. I mean to say it's just part of mainland Israel. It's just a little sandbox. It's 400 square miles. But for God's sakes, crush the enemies, turn off their electricity, stop giving them food, let them come out of their tunnels, go in, shoot the bad guys, get your people back, and stop asking for a president of the United States to take care of your problems for you. You want to get your hostages? So go get them and make sure that that never happens again. And these incessant questions, incessant hostages, can you help me with the hostages? Go get your hostages and make sure that never happens again. You don't need to go to the president of the United States for him to get your hostages out. It just, I don't know. It's like a ninny-ish, a ghetto-ish turn to the big power that will somehow solve your problem for you. And I don't need that. I don't like to hear that. I don't need that from reporters either. You want to get your hostages? Go get your hostages. Go take care of business. Kill the bad guys, fight them, teach them a lesson, get your people out.
We're looking at another ceasefire. We'll see what happens. But we want to get the hostages out. The Israeli people want the hostages out more than anything. They want the hostages out.
No, that's some of us Israelis want more than anything the hostages out. I want the hostages out, but I want to make sure it never happens again. Okay? I want to make sure that we don't pay for the hostages and so teach the world that the way to destroy Israel is by just taking a hostage. The way you fight a war with Israel is just take a few hostages right at the onset, and then that's it. It's a game over because Israel will give up anything. Let's not teach that to the world. Let's not teach them that they could take more hostages. Let's teach them that they will pay a world of hurt of price by taking those hostages. And just this constant mantra, I just think it weakens our posture and our position vis-a-vis the bad guys.
This man is working very hard with us to do that. I mean, I don't know. I hope he's being appreciated because he's been a great leader. He's working very, very hard on the hostages and many other things. And there are plenty of things you have to work on. It's a tough place in the world.
I have a good partner.
Yeah, you do have a good partner, and so do we. We're working very hard on the hostages.
If you're going to negotiate a new deal with Iran, can you elaborate how it's going to be more effective than the JCPOA?
Well, I can't really say that, but I think it'll be different and maybe a lot stronger. But they were so happy when we made that first deal because we did get a lot out. I had people right in this office, this beautiful Oval Office. They came in, 10 people, hostages, you know that. And I said to them, so how was it? And the stories they told me, I mean, as an example, I said to them, was there any sign of love? You were there, 10 people. It's only 10, but it's pretty representative. Did the Hamas show any signs of, like, help or liking you? Did they wink at you? Did they give you a piece of bread extra? Did they give you a meal on the side, like, you think of doing? Like what happened in Germany, what happened elsewhere. People would try and help people that were in unbelievable distress. They said no. I said all of them. I said, did they ever wink at you like, you'll be okay, you're going to be okay? No, they didn't do that. They'd slap us. The hatred is unbelievable. And the lives, they lived in a pipe, not really a tunnel, it was a pipe. And they always thought they were suffocating, they were going to suffocate. And then they'd open up the pipe, and it was like 3.5 feet high. This isn't, we hear tunnels bad, but pipes are worse. And the stories I heard were incredible. But I just said, was there any sign of potential love or affection? And there were none whatsoever. It was amazing to me. There was nothing like, here, take this, it's a little extra meal or something. They lived like hell. I don't know. They were amazing to me because they seemed to be pretty normal. They weren't scarred, but I guarantee underneath they have to be scarred. And one was there for 356 days. Another was there for about 180 days, a long time. These are people that have been really, really horribly treated. I've never seen anything like it, actually. I was very surprised to hear the answer.
Well, it's obvious that President Trump was moved personally by the stories of the hostages, and that it touched his heart, and that he sees himself as a kind of, Truman or Roosevelt or a Truman with the Holocaust. I wish that we didn't broadcast that kind of imagery and messaging. I wish that we would be broadcasting the imagery and the messaging of a strong Israel, of a ruthless Israel that destroys bad guys, of an Israel that governs, of an Israel that's a power and a superpower in the region. But what is sometimes in mode here in Israel is to project the hostages and the pain. And okay, it clearly worked on President Trump. He was clearly moved by it. To me, it's hard for me to connect to that and to applaud that, because I want to see Israel have a image of strength and self-reliance and godly reliance, and taking care of business. But at the same time, I have to admit that clearly the stories of survival, of victimization and survival, touched the president's heart, and he heard it himself, and he also pointed out something in his inimitable language, where he's able to draw a very kind of sketch picture in simple language. He describes the hate of jihadism, the hate that jihadism has taught young minds and corrupted young minds. And that is also a powerful reality, which people don't admit often, which is jihadism is not about liberty or equalities. They only use that as a veneer sometimes to snag the liberals and progressive minds. But what he's saying is, no, they're really filled with hate. There's a deep hate in there. Here, Rex writes, no Schindlers in Gaza is what he was saying, certainly. But he also he kind of poignantly articulated, like, these folks, they hate Israel. They hate the Jewish people. And we're going to hear a little bit more about Gaza and his vision for how to deal with Gaza in the future. And I'll stop and talk about that as well.
For the Times of Israel, the IDF is fighting again in the Gaza Strip. I myself might be called up in a month. Do you think that's the way to pressure Hamas to get to a deal? And do you think blocking humanitarian aid is also an effective pressure tactic?
Well, you know how I feel about the Gaza Strip. I think it's an incredible piece of important real estate, and I think it's something that we would be involved in. But having a peace force like the United States there, controlling and owning the Gaza Strip, would be a good thing.
Okay, so he's talking about controlling and owning the Gaza Strip and having a peace force there. Okay, this is interesting language. So in his vision, the United States would control it, would own it, and would deploy a force there.
Because right now, all it is for years and years, all I hear about is killing and Hamas and problems. And if you take the people, the Palestinians, and move them around to different countries, and you have plenty of countries that will do that, and you really have a freedom zone. You call it the freedom zone, a free zone, a zone where people aren't going to be.
Freedom zone, right? There's going to be like a freedom zone in Gaza. Instead of Gaza being the open air prison of Hamas and of Egypt, it would be a freedom zone. There's something, let freedom ring. This rings to me, somebody writes here, Gaza Lago, freedom zone. We can have a lot of humor, but there is a beautiful vision that could come to fruition here. Let's keep going.
Be killed every day. That's a hell of a place. It's what I call it, a great location that nobody wants to live in, because they really don't. And when they have good living, real living, where Hamas and all of the problems they have, the level of death on the Gaza Strip is just incredible. And I've said it. I don't understand why Israel ever gave it up. Israel owned it. It wasn't this man, so I can say it. He wouldn't have given it up. I know him very well. There's no way. They took oceanfront property and they gave it to people for peace. How did that work out? Not good.
Okay, that was one of the most important pieces in this whole discussion. President Trump says a few things there. He says, I don't understand why Israel ever gave up this land. They gave it up for peace. How did that work out? It didn't work out. Israel should have continued to control it. And within that, there's a message. Israel should have continued to control it, and therefore should in the future control it. Hello. Here, Diana writes, Israel should have kept Gaza. Yes, Dan, but he's also saying, and that's what should happen. There's an American control, potentially, maybe like a Hong Kong, but it's got to go back to Israel. That's who should have owned it. They should have never given it up for peace. So that is also revolutionary, because out there in the world, you hear that Gaza is somehow this concoction called Palestinians, and that Israel should get out. What Trump is saying is, no, Israel should have never left. This is actually Israeli land. They're the best controllers of it. The other side, though, of what he said, there's a bit of a mistake there. He says, I know Prime Minister Netanyahu, he would have never given up this land. But Prime Minister Netanyahu did indeed vote for the disengagement in 2004 and 2005. He voted for the disengagement, for giving away the Gaza Strip. And Prime Minister Netanyahu also, under his leadership, he was the prime minister when Hebron was given away to the very same jihadis and the very same Hamas folks. In truth, Prime Minister Netanyahu is culpable for giving away the Gaza Strip and giving away Hebron, and for being part of the Oslo way of thinking, the land for peace way of thinking. He may not have that coat on right now, but he was part of it. And maybe President Trump can't believe it, but indeed, sadly, Prime Minister Netanyahu, and he should have raised his hand, been there and said, to be honest with you, I was part of that big mistake. I really was part of that mistake. And you know what he should say also? And not only was I part of that mistake, this is my chance to finally clean up and do repentance for the crap that has of crappy policy, bad policy that has ended up in the deaths of so many Jews and so much stupidity that has ended up in the control of Hamas and the jihad of places like Hebron and Gaza. And I need to do I need to make amends. I need to repent. And President Trump, I just want to say on the international stage, I'm sorry that I did that. I want to say to all Israelis and all those dead Israelis, I'm sorry that I did that. And I want to say, President Trump, can you help me fix that? Can you help me undo that horrible mistake? Because what I want to do now is to be sovereign in Gaza. I want to govern in Gaza. I want to undo the mistake of giving away Hebron. I want Israel to liberate and control and govern and be sovereign in Hebron as well, the beautiful ancient city where the tomb of the forefathers and mothers is. I'm sorry, President Trump. I just want to correct you. I was part of that big mistake. I was, and I'm sorry. And I'm sorry. And some of the people in that room in my staff, I just saw a picture of them. They were very much part of that two-state solution, land for peace, land giveaway, Israel shrinking, bad idea policy. And we're sorry. And we really need you to help us make amends and clean up our act. That's what he should have said at that very moment, but that's not exactly what happened.
Immigration, sorry, Mr. President, is the immigration plan still on the agenda?
Which immigration?
From Gaza.
All it is a concept that I had that I think is good, and now people are copying it. Maybe you want to tell people are talking about the Trump plan. Gee, why don't we do that? Would you like to answer that question?
I think what the president talked about is, first of all, to give people a choice. Gazans were closed in. And any other place, including in arenas of battle, I mean, whether it's Ukraine or Syria or any other place, people could leave. Gaza was the only place where they locked them in. We didn't lock them in. They're locked in. And what is wrong with giving people a choice? Now, we've been talking, including over lunch, about some countries, I won't go into them right now, that are saying, if Gazans want to leave, we want to take them in. And I think this is the right thing to do. If you give, it's going to take years to rebuild Gaza. In the meantime, people can have an option. The president has a vision. Countries are responding to that vision. And we're working on it. I hope we'll have good news for you.
So this is very important stuff. Basically, what they're saying is there are countries that are willing to take in so-called Palestinian, Gazan, Arab refugees. What countries of those? Just off the top of my head, these are the countries that I remember that have said that they're willing to take in refugees. Scotland, Spain, Australia. There's talk about Ukraine. There's talk about Syria. What other countries? Chile has a very large Arab population from these areas. There's other countries that also said, Canada, of course. And so these countries have said, we're willing to take in refugees. A lot of times in the comment section, people say, "Hey, I'm from Canada, or I'm from Spain. I don't want these jihadis, these Gazan Arabs." But other people say, no, they're welcome to come in. Here's somebody's adding other names, but the bottom line of countries that are willing to take in refugees. But the bottom line is this. It's not just which country is going to take in the refugees. That is an important question. The real message here, though, is that there is an undermining of the narrative, the so-called Palestine narrative, which says that the Jews are foreigners, that the Jews are white colonialists, and that the Arabs are the indigenous. By saying that the Arabs can move, it is an earthquake. It is a revolution. It is shattering a accepted convention that somehow it's the Jews that have to move. Basically, what you heard in this press conference is that the Jews should have never moved. The so-called Palestinians should move. And this is the truth. This is a big truth. It's basically saying the land belongs to the Jews. This whole narrative of so-called Palestinian justice is a myth. It's a lie. It's a creation. And they are mobile. They're willing to move. And Prime Minister Netanyahu added a very true point. Who's really keeping them in jail? It's the Arabs who once again are using the simple people as pawns on the ground. So this is an incredibly important evolution of policy discourse, which is getting the truth back on the table. I think that Ambassador David Friedman, former Ambassador David Friedman, had language about the diplomacy of truth, and this is very important stuff. This is really important stuff. That the whole concept of who has a right to the Gaza Strip is being overturned, and the truth is starting to come out. And this is knocking back so many people who are out there who run a whole campaign to try to shrink Israel by saying, you don't belong here, you're the foreigners. And here comes the president of the United States, and he's saying, no. The so-called Palestinians can move. They don't really belong there, and certainly they have lost their rights by being part of the real genocide, the effort to destroy Israel. And then Prime Minister Netanyahu says, hey, there's other places that they can go, and they should go. And then when you ask them in many videos, they're like, just let us out. Just open the door. And so this is a very important moment. And because I watched this thing live, I was like, I have to go live and show this, because this policy moment, this policy change is really a moment that we have to remember, and Israel has got to utilize this moment and take it all the way and not fall asleep at the wheel. And you see Prime Minister Netanyahu rushed over there and he's talking about it. So we've got to demand right now. We need to demand an exit strategy for the Arabs of Gaza. We need to demand sovereignty and governance and Israeli rule in Gaza. And that is the clear understanding of the policy prescription from this meeting. And we have to take it all the way and make it a reality. We have to make it a reality.
I will say,
excuse me, people really do love that vision. It's a long-term vision, but so importantly is to have that be a safe field, because you're right smack in the middle of the Middle East. You're right along Israel. It should have never, ever been given away. It shouldn't have been given away by Israel. I don't know why they did it. I mean, I do know why, because they were promised peace, but that didn't work out too well, because it's one of the most dangerous pieces of land anywhere in the world. Gaza is one of the most dangerous places in the world. So they gave it away for good intention, and it didn't work out that way. And a lot of people like my concept, but, you know, there are other concepts that I like too. And there are some concepts I don't like. You know what I don't like? The way it is now. Because right now it's a dangerous death trap, Gaza. Yeah.
Me?
And just to make one last point on this, which is President Trump has got a very, again, through his inimitable way, his ability to sketch things in a kind of simple but true fashion. He just says, on the one hand, it's become super dangerous. The jihadis, he doesn't say it, but the jihadis have taken it over and have turned it into a death trap. But then previously he said, but it's beautiful property. It's beautiful land. It's on the beach. It could be something great. Let's make Gaza great again is the kind of slogan here. And his businessman and real estate developer sense just says the way it is now is bad. It's been rotten through and turned into a death trap. Let's beautify it again. Let's let it breathe again. And let's solve this problem and turn it into the beautiful place that it can be, it should be, and it will be.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. President. On Iran, 2 questions, please. First, if you can give us more details about where the meeting on Saturday is going to take place.
I can just tell you there's a major meeting going on between us and Iran, and that'll take place on Saturday, and it's at top level.
And the second question about this. A lot of people think that those talks are not going to lead anywhere because the Iranians will never give up.
Sure. I think that's a possibility too.
If diplomacy fails, is the United States, under your leadership, ready to take military action to destroy the Iranian nuclear program and remove this threat?
I think if the talks aren't successful with Iran, I think Iran is going to be in great danger. And I hate to say it, great danger, because they can't have a nuclear weapon.
So is that a yes?
You know, it's not a complicated formula. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. That's all there is. You can't have it. Right now we have countries that have nuclear power that shouldn't have it. But I'm sure we'll be able to negotiate out of that too as part of this later on down the line. But Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. And if the talks aren't successful, I actually think it'll be a very bad day for Iran if that's the case. Yeah.
Mr. President, on manufacturing, Mr. President.
Okay, so we heard a clear type of threat. We're here to negotiate with you, Iran. No, there's a credible military strike that he's already proven that he's willing to pull the trigger on the Houthis. That sent a very clear message, as I said before, a kinetic message to the Iranians. And now he's in negotiation with them from a position of strength.
President, was October 7th the death blow of the two-state solution, and would you consider classifying the Palestinian Authority as a terrorist organization for its continued paper-slate terror financing payments?
So October 7th was a horrible day that some people, they deny it. Now, I can't believe they deny it from the standpoint of it. They do it because they think it's good politically. But October, I've seen the tapes. I've seen things that you don't want to see. October 7th was a horrible day, and it will go down as one of the really bad days in the history of the world. It was a horrible, horrible thing that happened. And they grabbed some of these people. I'll give you an example. When I was with the 10 hostages a few weeks ago, I said, so how many are there? 59. I said, oh, so 59, so we can get 59. They sort of knew the territory pretty good. And I said, how are they doing? They said, well, only 24 are living, the rest are dead. And these are young people largely. Young people don't die. You know, young people have an amazing ability to live. They can live through horrible things. But these are young people. And when they said that 24 are living and the rest are dead. And, you know, I've had parents come up Israeli parents, largely. We have some Americans, and I guess we have one left, Alex. We have the one left. But I've had Israeli parents come up to me at events and say, my son is there. I said, well, how's he doing? Well, he's dead. But would you do me the biggest favor ever? Could you bring his body back home? They talked about a young dead boy and a young dead girl like they were living. And that could have something to do with religion. That could have something to do with, I guess maybe any parent would be. But I was surprised. And they said, sir, my son is dead. It is just as important to bring that body back home. I asked that question as if he were alive. So you have a lot of them dead, and we'll be able to bring them back. But it's a horrible thing that's happened. These are largely young people, some old ones too, frankly. And those people have lived in hell. When they came off, the second group that came out, they look like they just got out of a concentration camp. They look exactly like the pictures that I'd see from the 1940s, the concentration camps. And then they got a little bit better, but that second group, those people came out, and I said, this is unbelievable. We're going back into a chapter in history that is one of the worst ever. It's really very bad. Okay?
So in this case, President Trump did not actually address the question. The question, and my friend Jake is pointing it out correctly, is the PA, the Palestinian Authority, which still gets funding from the United States and from Israel, which pays for the terrorists that committed the 7th of October, which teaches anti-Israel ideology every single day, which brainwashes children in school books, textbooks in schools every single day, which has channels that are aired here in this region that teach Israel hate, jihadism, destruction of Israel every single day. Is the PAPLO a terrorist org? It was funny. I saw Netanyahu's head turn to President Trump to answer it. The person that should have answered it was Prime Minister Netanyahu, and be like, yeah, we gotta designate them a terror org, and we got to dismantle them and stop doing security cooperation with them, because in fact, the only security cooperation that actually happens is that they get rid of terrorists who are their competitors, but they themselves are certainly terrorists. They hate Israel. They want to destroy Israel. They teach Israel hate. And the reporter was asking a very serious question, and the president answered with a kind of, once back to the hostages and the emotionalism, and he's talking about what he saw. But in terms of policy, the dismantlement of the PA is key. And this goes back to my belief that one of the greatest things that Israel has a hard time with is governance, ruling, and sovereignty. We keep on wanting somebody else to take care of business and to rule the Arabs and to deal with them. And so we created this PAPLO, and it's a horrible thing that is undermined every single value of decency, life, freedom, pro-Israelness, everything. It's just jihadism and hate. It's a tough question to tackle, because somebody has to be like, wait a minute, we're backing this thing up. And so my friend Jake caught very correctly this question, but the president did not, and the prime minister didn't jump in there and be like, it's October 7th, we're done. Come on, we had a wake up call. No more PAPLO. Israel's going to rule and govern. Yeah, we're going to find status for the Arabs that want to be pro-Israel, want to live in our country. We're going to figure it out, and we're going to take responsibility. We're going to govern our beautiful land. But that did not happen, and so we passed the buck, and we keep the evil organizations going, and they laugh all the way to the next jihadist act. And too bad, because this is the moment. This is the president, the United States president's to do it. This is the October 7th period. The war is still on. This is the time to dismantle evil. It's every day is the right day to dismantle evil. But I mean, if you need a political backing, this is it. This is the moment. This is the time. And you have the reporter asking you a question. It's time to step up and be like, yeah, man, you're right. You're right. Let's cut it. Let's cut the crap. We are tacitly supporting the people who support our murder. Let's stop that. All right. But the moment has not yet been fully seized.
We're going to let them build their own power plants. They'll be their own. Essentially, they're going to be in charge of the power plant because our power is not reliable enough. You have a grid that's old and susceptible to a lot of things, including bombing and weather and a lot of other things. And we're going to give them record timing in terms of approvals of electric plants. Most of them want to build electric plants. We need massive amounts of electricity if we're going to compete with China and others. And interestingly, we're way ahead right now in the AI race with China. But the way we lose,
all right, there's a lot of
discussion
in this meeting about economics and China and other things, and we cut a lot of those out because we want to just deal with the issues of Israel in the Middle East, as our channel is about Israel and the strength of Israel. Let me just see if there's any other issues that we can tackle here.
The situation in Syria.
Turkey?
Yeah. Israel doesn't want Turkey to influence Syria. What do you think? Do you think Turkey's influence in Syria can actually make it a better, more peaceful country, or vice versa?
Well, I have great relations with a man named Erdogan. Have you heard of him?
Yeah.
And I happen to like him, and he likes me, and I know the press will get very angry. He likes Erdogan, but I do, and he likes me, and we've never had a problem, and we've gone through a lot, and we've never had a problem. We've always gotten, as you remember, we got our minister back from Turkey. You remember that? And this was a big deal at the time. And we got him back. And I told the prime minister, I said, just, Bibi, if you have a problem with Turkey, I really think I'm going to be able to work it out. You know, I have a very, very good relationship with Turkey and with their leader. And I think we'll be able to work it out. So I hope that's not going to be a problem. I don't think it will be a problem. Now, with that being said, I believe it was Turkey, and I said that to him. I said it. I said, congratulations. You've done what nobody's been able to do in 2,000 years. You've taken over Syria with different names, but same thing. I said, you've taken it over. He's taken it over through surrogates. He goes, no, it was not me. I said, it was you, but that's okay. You don't have to say, well, sort of maybe it was me. Okay. But what he did, he said, look, he's a tough guy, and he's very smart. And he did something that nobody was able to do. You know, you got to hand it to him. Any problem that you have with Turkey, I think I can solve. I mean, as long as you're reasonable. You have to be reasonable. We have to be reasonable. Thank you very much, everybody.
All right, so that was the end of the press conference there at the Oval Office. At the end there, President Trump saying, I'm going to protect you. I'm going to deal with Turkey. I have a relationship with Erdogan. Okay, good. Let's see. But he also admitted that Erdogan is trying to take over Syria using jihadists as proxies. And proxies is one of the ways that the Middle East is controlled. And so he says, you know, I know what Erdogan is up to. But Bibi, if you have a problem with Erdogan, let me know. And he says, within reason, I think we all understand that Israel is definitely going to remain in the former Syrian Mount Hermon, the Hermon mountain range, in order to continue to protect our assets and interests. And we have to stay in the southern part of north of Israel, so that Hezbollah doesn't come back and attack us again. And we should protect other peoples, including, for example, the Druze, and make sure that, because they have a lot of Druze in Israel, and Prime Minister Netanyahu has actually invited a lot of the Syrian Druze to come to Israel and to work. He's offered them a lot of work options. Okay, so that was this very important press conference. Once again, I think that the main issue is the voluntary removal and the ability to give an opportunity for new life for Gazans, and that Israel should have never left Gaza. The emotional connection that President Trump has with the hostage story, the idea of leveling the playing field vis-a-vis tariffs and other ways that is the Israeli consumer will be able to pay less for American products and thereby encourage a more equal trade situation. I hope that actually happens for the purposes of a better life for the average Israeli. With all that, friends, I remind you the video that I played in the beginning. Maybe we'll play it once again. Maybe I'll just mute it, but we can watch Prime Minister Netanyahu as he's cleaning up his desk in the as Israeli Prime Minister and his offices, and he's cleaning up at the very end. Well, before I tell you about the end, right now he's cleaning because we're cleaning for Passover, and that's what we have to do here in the land of Israel. The holiday of Passover is coming, and this is a very special holiday. Here's Prime Minister Netanyahu saying that he's cleaning up for Passover. There's going to be cleanup after Passover as well. And this cleaning that's happening is important in terms of getting rid of bad guys, in terms of getting rid of jihadism in our land. But there's also the cleaning that actually has to happen for Passover, because our strength relies in the God of Israel. Strength lies, in the God of Israel. And he asks us to worship him, to come up to Jerusalem, to have a third temple, to bring the Paschal lamb, Paschal sacrifice. And the verse actually tells us that when the Jewish people come up to Jerusalem 3 times a year and serve the God of Israel 3 times a year in Jerusalem, then there's nothing to fear from the Gentiles. Nobody will covet your land. Your land will not shrink. You will sleep peacefully, soundly in your land, because you came up to Jerusalem on the 3 festival holidays and served God, which is Passover, Shavuot, which is weeks or Pentecost, and of course Sukkot. And lest we get confused, these 2 things work together: a strong Israeli military, a strong Israeli identity, a strong Israeli economy, and a strong sense of the God of Israel, of the revelation in Jerusalem, the light of Torah that comes out from Jerusalem to the world. These are actually harmonious things. Okay, it's not like if you're religious, then you could forget the army and you don't think about economy because you just want to serve God. No, a strong Israel is strong economically, strong militarily, strong on its land, governs its land, and it's strong in identity and strong in its religion. That is the way forward. And October 7th is an opportunity. President Trump is an opportunity to take massive steps forward. Now, if I don't get a step forward into going to sleep soon, I'm not going to wake up in time to take care of the dishes and other things that my wife has commanded me to take care of so that I can follow her commands and the commands of God. So I got to take care of business. I want to thank all of you for being with me from all over the world. May we, let's pray that we are able to utilize this moment. And let's pray for action, and let's pray for strength, and let's pray for revelation. Let's pray for observance and a closeness to God and a will to be strong in all of the facets, economically, militarily, physically, but with identity and with a sense of history and a sense of purpose, and of course, a sense of God in our life. So I want to thank you very much. It is late night here in the good land. It's almost 2 o'clock in the morning, and I got to get some rest. I want to bless you. I want to thank you. I want to also thank Yo for being with me and producing the show. I want to thank my friend Jake and many others from all over the world that joined. For example, Susanna here that has flags of Brazil and other flags, and people from all over the world that are part of the great story. Thank you very much for the super chat, and you can find great ways to continue to support us. One of the things that you could do right now is if you like and subscribe right now as you're watching this programming. If you do it right now, it actually helps our algorithm, and the algorithm makes a big difference. So jump in on that. And finally, don't forget that there are great ways to support our efforts. One is at buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. It's a great way to support the programming and help us keep cleaning this good land from the haters and cleaning it up, and by unteaching the unteaching and teaching the teaching. Do you know what I mean? We got to unteach the unteaching and teach the teaching. And that's what we're doing here at Yishai Fleischer TV with the help of God. So buymeacoffee.com/Yishai. And another great way to support is fightforisrael.org, where we fight to clean up our land, to strengthen it, to spread Torah to the world, to buy tractors for farmers, etc., etc. There are many great things that we are doing, and you could be part of it. And thank you so much Finally, you can write me an email at yishai@yishaifleischer.com. Yishai@yishaifleischer.com. I'll try to get to your emails with the help of God. God bless you, folks, and thank you so much for being with us. Bibi, keep cleaning. Clean up the land, the good land. The good land, when it's clean, it will shine forth the face of God. God bless you, folks, wherever you are. Stay tuned, stay strong, stay connected. Lots of love, and shalom.